long.
This time.
I hope. I really hope.
I'll cry. I'll straight up cry video. Not gonna lie.
No.
Alright, let's do a little test. Pull up the stream. Make sure it's
Washa.
working properly. Channel. Go. Oh my gosh, my homie's live.
My God.
Oh my
My God.
god,
And
the
my
homies
homies
are
live.
live.
Oh my God. Getting your chat right now. I got you.
Heck yeah, everything's working like it should.
Let's go.
Go. I'm so excited. Oh my god, not the homie in my chat right now.
My God. What's up?
What's up?
Aw.
The homies.
My God. Go. Snoozing that ad. I don't care about that.
Oh my god, I love this little screen thing you've done.
Thank you. I found it on Canva after like 15 minutes of trying to find it.
Nice.
Hey.
Cool. Okay.
Oh my God. The homies in chat.
Yes.
My God.
One smells like dog treats and it's disgusting.
Oh no.
What you doing down there, baby girl?
I got you with the hydrate. I got you. Where's my... Oh.
Oh shit. Hey, what you got? Thank you.
Okie doke.
Oh my gosh, hydrate?
My God.
Throwing out a hydrate?
I got you with that hydrate.
Yes. Please.
Got
Everybody needs to do the hydration. Please, please.
Got you. I got you.
Nice. Okay.
Oh my gosh, thanks for the shout
Gonna
out.
always shout the homies out.
Yeah.
I do it every single stream. Like, even if you're not streaming with me, I still do it.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go.
Alright.
Do. Okay.
Alright. Ready whenever you are.
Okie doke. Give me just 1 second. Okay.
I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm ready.
Hell yeah. Oh my God, with this shout out, homie. Hell yeah. Gonna get blue shout out
Yes.
too.
Fuck yeah.
There you
Oh,
go.
thank you.
Always got you.
Okay. Do you want to make sure you got your Minecraft up in?
Oh yeah. Let me switch back to this
Before
screen really fast.
Yep.
Go here.
Yep. Oh my god, are things in the bottom? I haven't seen that yet. That's cool.
Yeah, I found a website and added it. Come on, Minecraft.
Everybody's
There it
depressed.
is.
I'm on a little base right now, but we're not okay.
Oh no.
The proper stuff to make the meds for it.
Ah. Ooh. Nice.
Oh my
Cool world.
gosh, look at all this food over here. Oh my god. What?
Okay, there it goes. Just making
Jeez.
sure the power world was up. It's got some little bit of lag, but I think it's
Yeah,
it's
it's
okay.
gonna have lag because it's a dedicated server.
Yeah, got it.
Actually, I need to go to the info, drop this off. Put that in. Oh, I do this though. Do that, and then hit sort, and that fixes it. Go make some mixed berries.
Yeah, berries.
Next. the bowies. And can I go over here? Make the salad. Can I make
Oh, I
salad?
does
I can't make
salad.
salad. Okay, let that do its thing. Good job, Pallies.
All right. Very excited for this. This is awesome already.
Yeah.
Yep. It's still the the little loop thing.
Yeah, I had it on loop on purpose.
Oh well, yeah. I just didn't know if you wanted to be like on Minecraft
Oh yeah.
when I started.
I can switch it. I just wanted to like let people know what we're doing.
Ah,
Oh,
true. I wonder if there's a way for like you to have that like in the corner or
I
something.
wonder.
Maybe.
I'll figure that out next
But
time.
yeah. We're getting in the swing of things.
Hell yeah.
All right. Good evening. Today is February 20th, 2024. And today we will be starting the New York Times bestseller by author Colleen Houck, Reawakened. Also by Colleen Houck, the Tiger's Curse series. Dedication for my dad, Bill, who left us all too soon. The Wine of Love, an ancient Egyptian love poem. Oh, when my lady comes, and I with Oh, when my lady comes, and I with love behold her, I take her into my beating heart, and in my arms enfold her. My heart is filled with joy divine, for I am hers, and she is mine. Oh, when her soft embraces do give my love completeness, the perfumes of Arabia anoint me with their sweetness. And when her lips are pressed to mine, I am made drunk, and need not wine. Part 1. In the great city, Ivitajawi, the air was thick and heavy, reflecting the mood of the men in the temple, especially the countenance of the king, and the terrible burden he carried in his heart. As King Heru stood behind a pillar and looked upon the gathered people, he wondered if the answers his advisors and priests had given was their salvation, or instead, their utter destruction. Even should the offering prove successful, the people would surely suffer a terrible loss, and for him, personally, there was no way to recover from it. You guys hear my brother?
No.
No,
Okay.
Okay, sorry.
you're good.
Okay, I know I hear him. Despite the simmering heat of the day, he shivered in the temple's shadow. Surely a bad omen. Uneasily he ran a hand over his smoothly shaven head and let the curtain fall. To quiet his nerves, he began to pace the temple's smooth, polished dais and ponder his choices. King Heru knew that even should he defy the proposed demands, he needed to do something drastic to appease the fearsome god Seth. If only there was a way out, he thought. Putting the proposal to the people was something no king had ever done before. A king held his position precisely because it was his right, his duty, to see to the needs of his people. And a king who could not make a wise decision, however difficult, was ripe for deposing. Heru knew, by allowing the people to decide, he proved himself to be a weakling, a coward. And yet there was no other outlet he could see that would allow him to live with the consequences. 20 years before King Heru's time, all the people of Egypt were suffering. Years of terrible drought, further complicated by devastating sandstorms and plague, had almost destroyed civilization. Marauders and old enemies took advantage of Egypt's weakness. Several of the oldest settlements had been wiped out completely. In a desperate act, King Heru invited the surviving leaders of the major cities to come to his home. King Kalfana of Asyut and King Nasor of Waset agreed to a 1 week summit, and the three of them, along with their most powerful priests, disappeared behind closed doors. The results of that meeting had been a decision that tipped the balance in the pantheon of the gods. Each city worshipped a different god. The residents of Asyut which played host to the most famous magicians, were devoted to Anubis. Those of Waset, known for weaving and shipbuilding, to Khonsu, and King Hero's people, skilled in poetry and stone cutting, worshipped Amun Ra and his son, Horus. The kings had been convinced by their priests that their patron gods had abandoned them, and that they should come together as one to make offerings to appease a new god, namely the dark god, Seth, in order to secure the safety and well-being of the people. And so they did. That year the rains came in abundance. The Nile overflowed its banks, creating fertile lands for planting. Livestock flourished, tripling in number. Women gave birth to the following year to more healthy babies than had ever been recorded. Even more astonishing was when the queens of each city, who had been the most outspoken against the deity change, were appeased when discovering that they too had conceived. As the three queens each gave their husbands a healthy son, they acknowledged their blessings, especially the wife of Heru, who had never had a child and was well past her bearing years. Though in their hearts the new mothers still paid homage to the gods of old, they agreed that from that time forward they would never speak ill of the Dark One. The people rejoiced. The people prospered. The three kings wept with gratitude. In an age of peace and harmony, the sons of each queen were raised as brothers, in the hope they would someday unite all of Egypt under one ruler. The worship of Seth became commonplace, and the old temples were essentially abandoned. The sons considered each king a father, and each queen a mother. Their kings loved them, their people loved them. They were the hope of the future, and nothing could keep the three of them apart. Now, even now, on the darkest day of their fathers' lives, the three young men stood together, waiting for the kings to make a surprise announcement. In a moment, the three kings would ask the unthinkable, a favor that no king, no father, should ask of his son. It made King Heru's blood run cold and left him with vivid, nightmarish dreams of his heart being found unworthy when weighed against the feather of truth in the final judgment. The three kings stepped into the glaring sunlight that reflected off the white stone of the temple. King Heru stood in the center, while the other two men took their place at his side. King Heru was not only the tallest of the three, but also the most skilled speaker. Raising his hands, he began, "My people, and visiting citizens from our dearly loved cities upriver, as you know, we, your kings, have been in conference with our priests to determine why the river, which has lapped our shores so gently for the last 20 years, does not flourish as it should in this most important season. Our chief priest, Runihura, has said that the god Seth, the one we have worshipped wholeheartedly these past years, demands a new sacrifice." King Heru's own son took a step forward. "We will sacrifice whatever you think is necessary, father," he said. The king held up his hand to quiet his son and gave him a sad smile before turning back to the crowd. "The thing that Seth asks this year as a sacrifice is not a prized bull, bushels of grain, fine fabrics, or even the best of our fruits." Heru paused as he waited for the people to quiet. "No, Runihura has said that Seth has given us much, and for the things we have received, we must return that which is most precious. The god Seth demands that 3 young men of royal blood be sacrificed to him, and that they serve him indefinitely in the afterlife." Heru sighed heavily. If this does not happen, he vows to rain destruction upon all of Egypt. Chapter 1: House of Muses. 1550, the driver demanded in a heavy accent. "Do you take credit?" I responded politely. No cards. Machine's broken." Giving a slight smile to the heavily browed eyes staring at me in the rearview mirror, I pulled out my wallet. As many times as I'd ridden in a New York City cab, I'd never gotten used to the attitude of the taxi drivers. It irked me every time. Still, it was either that or our family's personal driver who would shadow me around reporting every move I made to my parents. All things considered, I much preferred independence. I handed the driver a 20 and opened the door. Almost instantly, he sped off, leaving me struggling to maintain my footing while coughing in a cloud of gray exhaust he left behind. Jerk, I mumbled as I smoothed my cropped trousers and then bent down to adjust the strap on my Italian leather sandals. Do you need help, miss? Asked a young man nearby. Standing up, I gave him the once-over. His department store jeans, I love New York tea, and scruffy boy next door appearance instantly told me he wasn't from the city. No self-respecting New Yorker, at least none I knew, would be caught dead in an NYCT. He wasn't bad looking, but when I considered his likely determinate stay in the city, coupled with the fact that he was obviously not to be parental approved, I surmised that any further dialogue would be a waste of time. Not my type. No thanks, I smiled. I'm good. With a no-nonsense stride, I headed towards the steps of the Metropolitan Museum of Art. The guys at my school would think I was an idiot for passing up a cute boy slash potential boyfriend, or at the very least, a fun distraction. It was easier not to make any promises I didn't plan on keeping, especially with a boy who hadn't met any of my requirements for the perfect guy. The list wasn't complete yet, but I'd been adding to it for as long as I'd been old enough to be interested in boys. Above all else, I was careful and thoughtful about my choices. Even though I was very picky, wore only designer clothes, and had a monthly allowance bigger than what most people my age earned in a year, I was by no means a slob. A snob. We'll see about that, honey. My parents had certain expectations of me, and the money was used as means to fulfill them. I was always taught that the image one portrays, though certainly not 100% accurate, was an indicator of the type of person you were. Despite my efforts to find evidence that this wasn't always the case, among the people I went to school and hung out with, it often was. My father, a successful international finance lawyer, always said, bankers trust the suit first and the man second. His version of dress for success. He and my mother, who spent most of her waking hours in her skyscraper office at one of the largest media companies in the city, dictating orders to her personal assistant, had drilled into me that image was everything. Mostly, I was left on my own, as long as I did what they expected, which included attending various functions, portraying myself as a doting daughter, and getting straight A's at my all-girls private school, and, of course, not dating the wrong type of boy, which I accomplished by not dating at all. In turn, I was given a generous allowance and the freedom to explore New York, a freedom I cherished, especially today, the first day of spring break. The Met was one of my favorite hideouts. Not only did my parents approve of the institution, a definite plus, but it was a great place to people watch. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do in the future, but this was the week I had to figure it out. I had already been accepted to a number of parent-approved universities. Mother and father, they hated being called mom and dad, wanted me to major in something that would make them proud, like medicine, business, or politics. But none of those really interested me. What I really enjoyed was studying people, people of the past,
Send me
like
with
the
the
ones I read
raid.
about at the
What's up,
Met,
guys?
or
What's up?
even
I
just
muted
the
myself for a
people
second,
walking around in New
what's
York
up? What's
City.
up? My name's Coda.
In
Dakota
fact,
doesn't
I
matter.
kept a little
You
book
can call
full
me
of
whatever.
notes on the most
We're just doing
interesting
a rating
people
right
I
now.
saw.
But Simi, thank you
Have I
so much for the
returned
raid.
this
How was your
admittedly
stream?
strange
Welcome
hobby
in, Big No. Welcome in.
into a career?
How was your stream? I hope it went
I
well.
had no
What were you
idea.
playing?
My parents would never approve of my becoming a counselor, mostly because they believe the person should be able to take charge of their own mental health by merely willing themselves to overcome any obstacle they might face. Consorting with those they considered beneath their station wasn't
Hope your
something they
stream went
encouraged,
amazing.
and yet becoming a counselor was the one career path
Thank you for the follow,
that
Big
made the
Neil. I
most
appreciate
sense to
that.
me.
Welcome in.
Anytime I thought about the future, my parents came to mind. What they had planned was a constant drumming on my consciousness, and if I entertained the
I
idea
was
of
playing
deviating
Apex as
from
per
their
usual.
plans even an
Sorry. No,
iota,
you're good. You're good
I
for the
was
right
filled
around.
with
You're
guilt,
good. You just
which
take. If you need
effectively
to get
choked the
water, eat
life
a
out
snack,
of
doesn't
any
matter. Just take
little
care of
seeds
yourself.
of rebellion. One of those seeds was where I
Hey,
applied to
Sean the guy.
college.
Welcome in. Welcome in.
Technically, it wasn't a mutiny since they knew about it. I was
Nah,
allowed
I
to apply to
appreciate the raid,
places
Simi.
that
Thank you so
interest me
much.
as long as I sent in the paperwork to the ones my parents approved of as well. Of course, they'd been thrilled when I'd been accepted to them all, but there was no doubt they were pushing me in certain directions. Spring break of my senior year was finally here. A time most teens loved, and I was dreading it. If only everything didn't have to be decided right now. Mother and father had given me until the end of the week to choose my college
Hey, John with the
and my
follow.
major.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Starting college as undecided
Welcome in. Welcome in.
was not an option. Stopping at the counter, I flashed my lifetime membership card
Blue the
and
icon. Blue is an icon.
swiftly walked through the roped entrance. "Hello, Miss Young," said the old guard with a smile. "Here all day?" I shook my head. "Half day, Bernie. Meeting the girls for lunch." "Should I be watching for them?" he asked.
Not that don't corrupt this one. I
"No,
love that.
I'll be alone
Oh
today."
my god. Welcome in, guys. Welcome
"Very
in.
good," he said,
Hope everyone's
securing
doing
the rope
great.
behind me and returning to help with the line of tourists. There were definitely some perks to having parents who donated annually to the
Not
Mint.
the ruh-roh. I
And since I
can't.
was an only child, I was lucky enough to receive the full quote-unquote benefit of their monetary
I
donations,
am muted, so I'm
wisdom,
not
and
interrupting, which is
experience.
good.
They were loving, too, if love looked like a stiff
Try my
upper lip
best, I
of pride and
promise.
approval.
Not the ruh-roh.
But I
I
was
can't.
often lonely, and at times felt trapped. Whenever I started to feel like I needed a real mom type to bake cookies with, I asked to visit my paternal grandmother, who lived on a small farm in
Love you
Iowa.
too.
A woman my parents checked in on exactly once, every 2 months. They visited her annually, though they stayed in a nearby city hotel and worked from their rooms while I stayed on the farm with her overnight. Speaking of grandmas, a very interesting looking older woman was seated on a bench ahead of me and staring at one of my favorite pictures, She Never Told Her Love, by Henry Peach Robinson. The photograph was controversial. Critics said it was indecent and indelicate for a photographer to capture a dying woman in print, but I found the photo dramatically romantic. It said that the photographer was trying to illustrate a scene from Shakespeare's Twelfth Night. I knew the quote on the picture's description by heart. She never told her love, but let concealment, like a worm eye the bud, feed on her damask cheek. Consumption. That was supposedly what the woman in the photo was dying of. I reasoned it was appropriate. Dying of a broken heart must feel like some type of consumption. I imagined it to be a squeezing pain that wrapped itself around a person like a boa constrictor, tightening more and more, crushing the body until there was nothing left but a dry husk. As fascinated as I was by the photo, I was even more fascinated by the woman who sat staring at it. Her cheeks sagged, as did her heavy body. Strands of limp gray hair hung from a messy bun. She clutched a worn cane, which meant it was well used, and wore a floral patterned butterfly collared dress, circa 1970. Her feet were planted shoulder width apart, and a thick-soled Velcro closed sneakers. The woman was leaning forward, resting her hands on the edge of the cane, her chin propped on her hands, as she studied the picture. For the better part of an hour, I sat at a distance, watching her and sketching her silhouette in my notebook. At one point, a tear ran down her face,
Still
and
can't
she
get over how
finally
jealous
moved,
I am that Blue's inside ring.
digging into a
I wish I
giant
could relive
crochet
Blue. I
bag
can't.
for a tissue.
I like this nice and
What
peaceful, which I
caused
am
her
not.
tears?
Yeah, I
I
mean,
wondered.
we're
Did she have
gonna
a
do this like every
long-lost
single
love
Tuesday.
of her own?
So feel free to join, whenever. I'm far from nice and peaceful.
Someone she had never shared her feelings with. The possibilities and questions swirled in my head.
Nah,
as
is it
I
you and I
adjusted
are
my
just chaotic
backpack
in the
and
best
headed down
way?
the hall. She was clicking on the marble floor. Noticing familiar guard, I stopped. Hi, Tony. And how are you today, Miss Young? I'm well. Hey, listen, I need to do some serious work. Is there a less
I wouldn't
trafficked
change it for
place
the
around
world. I
here that I
wouldn't
could go
either.
to
Believe
before I
me, I
meet my
wouldn't.
friends for lunch? The people are too distracting. Hmm. Tony rubbed his chin, and I heard the bristly sandpaper sound that meant he hadn't shaved that morning. The Egyptian wing is roped off, he said. They're adding some new pieces, but they shouldn't be in there today. The boss lady's at a conference, and nothing in this museum moves without her. Do you think I could go in there and sit? I promise not to touch anything. I just need a quiet spot. After a brief frown of consideration, his brows drew apart and he smiled. All right, just make sure you're careful. Stay out of view of the tourists, or they might get the idea to follow you in. Thanks, Tony. You're welcome. Come back and see me again when you get a chance. Will do, I said, and headed towards the Special Expeditions exit, then turned back. Hey, Tony. There's an old woman over by the photography exhibit. Can you check on her in a little while? She's been there a long time. I will, Miss Liliana. Bye. I sped past the wall of photographs and headed downstairs to the main floor. The medieval art and the hall of cloisters, full of tapestries, statues, carvings, swords, crosses, and jewels, led to the museum store, and then finally to the Egyptian wing. When no one was looking, I slipped under the fabric rope. Despite the air conditioning, the dust from thousands of years ago had a sharp enough tang to be noticeable. Perhaps the recent remodeling of the exhibit had released centuries of dust into the air, giving the effect of old things being stirred to life. The overhead lights were off, but sun came through the large windows and lit up displays as I continued. Tens of thousands of artifacts were housed in a couple dozen rooms, each focusing on one era. I felt adrift in a black ocean of history, surrounded by little glass boxes that offered fading glimpses of time gone by. Displays of cosmetic boxes, canopic jars, statues of gods and goddesses, funerary papyrus, and carved blocks from actual temples, all gleaming with hidden stories of their own, captured my attention. It was as if the artifacts were simply waiting for someone to come along and blow the sandstone grid of time from their surfaces. A sparkling bird caught my attention. I'd never seen it before, and wondered if it was part of the new display or just on rotation. The rendering, a beautifully made golden falcon that resembled the Egyptian god Horus, was called Horus the Gold. After finding a cozy corner lit well enough for me to see, I sat with my back against the wall, turning to a blank sheet in my notebook to list all possible majors and major/minor combinations and groupings my parents would approve of. I was matching up my top 3 choices with their universities when I heard a scrape. Wondering if a tourist had followed me in, I listened carefully for a few moments. Nothing. This wing of the museum was as silent as a tomb. Smirking at my own stupid cliche, I went back to my notes and examined a glossy college brochure. Before I made it through the first page, there was a thumping sound, followed by the same scraping noise. Though I considered myself a rational person, not easily frightened, a chill ran from my scalp down the length of my spine, as if icy fingers were caressing my vertebrae. I set down my pencil and notebook carefully, trying not to make any sounds of my own, and listened with increasing alarm to the scrapes, scruffs, and distinctly non-human groans coming from the other side of the wall. Someone or something was definitely there. Calling forth my sensible mind to dispel my fear, I considered that perhaps the sounds were being made by an animal. An eerie moan made my hands tremble at the sight of shaking fingers steeled me. I was being silly. Hello? I ventured quietly. Is someone there? I stood and took a few steps forward. The sound abruptly ceased, and my heart stilled. Was someone hiding? A museum employee would have answered me. Sucking in a shaky breath, I rounded the corner only to come face to face with a wall of plastic. This must be the section they're working on, I thought. It was too dark to make out any shapes inside the room, so I stood there for a full minute, gathering my courage. I ran my fingers along the thick plastic lining until I found an opening, gasping when I saw a figure staring back at me, not inches from where I stood. But the frightened girl clutching the plastic drape was just me. Her slightly wavy, product-enhanced, long brown hair, pale skin, and white designer blouse now marked with dust. Yep, me. The tile beneath the large artifact read, Ancient Copper Mirror. I shook my head as I tried to make out what else was in the room. The polished floor was protected by a heavy drop cloth, which was covered with sawdust and several boards, cut in various shapes, laid haphazardly on the floor. I used, uh, I used one to prop open the plastic curtain, taking advantage of whatever meager light I could get, and moved deeper into the room. Dark shapes and statues filled makeshift shelves, with stacked crates blocking every path. Now that I knew this shipment was so recent, I rationalized that what I heard was most likely a rat or a mouse making its home in one of the boxes. That would explain the silence since I'd come in. I saw nothing that looked out of place in a museum. A box of tools here, a circular saw there, open crates filled with Egyptian treasures resting on the straw. True to my word, I didn't touch any of the pieces and moved through the space carefully and quietly until a golden light behind some boxes caught my eye. I let out a small gasp as I came upon an enormous sarcophagus. The lid, resting at an angle on the lower half of the coffin, was breathtaking. As I focused on all the little details, the handsome carved face, with polished green stones for eyes, the crook and flail he held crossways on his chest, the precious gold details that meant he was likely someone of importance. My fingers itched for my pencil and notebook. Right away, I noticed patterns of three. 3 birds, 3 gods, 3 sets of wings, 3 bands on the arms. I wondered what they signified, and began coming up with possible scenarios as I continued exploring. The packing slip on the coffin-sized crate nearby read, Unknown Mummy, discovered 1989, Valley of the Kings, Egypt. Despite my fascination with the upcoming exhibit, I didn't notice anything out of the ordinary. No rat tails or droppings that I could see. No squeaking mouse hiding in a corner. No grave robbers or cursed mummies. Not even any museum employees. As I turned to leave, I looked down and suddenly realized 2 things. First, the straw-filled sarcophagus didn't contain a mummy. And second, there was a set of footprints other than my own in the sawdust. One's made by 2 bare feet, and they led away from the coffin. An intense curiosity took hold of me, and ignoring strong reservations, I followed the footsteps. They led me on a path between boxes and crates until I met a dead end. No climactic movie music was triggered, no rancid smells of decay or death assaulted my nose, no creepy monster leered at me from the darkness. Realizing I'd let my imagination get the best of me, I began making my way back toward the plastic curtain. I was passing the copper mirror when a hand shot out of the darkness and locked on my arm. My choked scream echoed, the shriek bouncing off
I'm for
relics.
about to fall asleep, dude.
The
Yeah.
golden
Blue
gods
has
and
a very
stony statues
peaceful
kept
reading
their icy
voice.
eyes forward,
What I've
remaining
noticed from the
as
times
still
we've done
and
this.
dead
This is the
as everything around
third or
them.
fourth time we've done this, I think. I don't know.
Take a sip of water. Everybody sip water. Water break. Water break. Check your messages. Eat food.
I want to play
Do
Apex
what you
Ranked
need to
because I
do.
feel too peaceful, but I can't because I need to wait for y'all to catch up. I haven't played Apex in
I'm giving y'all a
like a
second before
year
I
or
start
something.
chapter 2. Chapter 2. Okay. Chapter 2.
Chapter 2, let's
All right.
go.
Put some more glass. Is everybody enjoying so far? Is it easy to follow?
Yes.
Oh, 100%.
Okay, just making sure. How's chat feeling? Chat's feeling good? Let me check. Let me see. Let me do.
Got Izzy
There
in
we go.
chat right now. We got people in chat. I'm vibing.
Fuck yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I did mute in the middle
Yeah,
of that because I
like.
got raided, so I had to talk.
Oh, you're good. Oh, if you had. I would have stopped reading for a
Oh
moment.
no, you're good. You're good. I enjoyed it. It was too much to make you stop. To be honest.
Okay. Alright. Are we ready? Chap. Oh.
Yes.
Let's go.
Okay. Chapter 2. Stranger in a Strange Land. The hand, which was extremely warm and not covered in ancient mummy wrappings, let go the instant I screamed. I dashed through the plastic curtain and around the wall to grab the can of pepper spray I kept in my bag. I stood there, can aimed, finger on the trigger, as the bare feet were poking out beneath the curtain, retreated into the darkness. The sound of rummaging soon became obvious as the mysterious person began cracking open boxes. Something, most likely a box, crashed to the floor, and a metallic ringing indicated that a precious object of some kind had also been heedlessly dropped. I'm warning you. I'm armed, I threatened. Whoever was in there paused and said a few words I didn't understand before they went back to whatever it was they were doing. What was that? What did you say? I asked. When they didn't respond, I tried another tack. Qui est-ce que vous? Quién es usted? The only response was a grunt of frustration and the unmistakable sound of a crate being tossed aside. Look, I don't know who you are or what you're doing in this exhibit, I said, switching back to English while I knelt and threw my papers into the bag, but you really shouldn't be here. Hoisting my bag over my shoulder without taking the time to zip it, I kept
You
my
know,
eyes trained on
that
the
sounds
sheets
like a
of plastic
perfect way to
ahead,
end the
while
stream,
inching
like a
toward the
Minecraft stream.
entrance. I hid behind the displays until I reached the main hallway, still holding up the pepper spray
It's
just
in
in case the
background.
stranger jumped out
Look,
at me.
I need the food.
When the plastic sheet came into view, I scanned the area for a sinister shape, but nothing emerged from the closed-off section. Was the person hiding? Was I being stalked? Please come out and explain
Your computer
yourself,
would explode the
I
TNT.
called bravely, keeping my
Yeah,
back
mine
to the
definitely
wall.
would.
I waited for an
Mine might have a
answer.
mental breakdown then explode.
What I should have done was leave and report what was happening to the security guards. But as I stood there, curiosity
Disappoint go out
overwhelmed
with a
me,
bang.
and I
I
couldn't.
mean, that's a fair
If the
point.
person had wanted to attack me, they already had ample opportunity.
That's a
Perhaps
very fair
he
point.
or she was lost. What if it was a transient who had wandered into the exhibit and was trying to catch a nap? Maybe he was an employee. Maybe they were hurt. I lowered my aching arm and slowly walked back toward the plastic curtain. Hello? Do you need help? I ventured. I didn't sound as
Volunteer my
confident
computer
as I'd hoped.
distributed.
I heard a sigh as someone came toward me. Even though I was no longer pointing the can of pepper spray, I was still clutching it, nervously running my forefinger in little circles over the trigger. Who are you? I asked again quietly, more to express the thought out loud than because I expected an answer. A hand
Not
grasped
that we already
the
know it
curtain,
sucks.
pushing it aside as the object of both my fear and curiosity stepped through, bumbling an assortment of words that sounded very much like explicitives in another language. Stopping just outside the curtain, it was most definitely a he, let the plastic fall and faced me with an irritated
Got you with that
expression.
hydrate. Hold on.
Though we were in the darkest part of an exhibit, I could clearly make out the pleated white shirt that ended just at his knees, and the
That
wide
sucks. Ain't
expanse
nothing
of a
more sad
tanned
than a
and
computer that doesn't work.
very
Yeah. Oh,
bare
100%.
chest. His bare feet were covered with sawdust. He seemed young, maybe just a few years older than me, yet his head was bald. Crossing muscular arms over his wide chest, he boldly looked me up and down, and I got the feeling that he found me both
It's truly
surprising
heartbreaking. For
and
real. Retweet.
disappointing. Stay back, I said, raising the can of pepper spray, feeling like an idiot for getting into the situation. He just raised an eyebrow and smirked, seeming to taunt me. Jabbing a finger toward me, he uttered something that sounded like a command. I'm sorry, I don't understand you, I answered. Noticeably frustrated, he repeated himself, more slowly this time, as if he were talking to an imbecile. I answered back just as slowly, first
Fingers
gesturing to
crossed I can get a
myself.
new one. Yeah, my fingers are crossed.
Then shaking my
Absolutely.
head, don't understand, and finally pointing at him, you. Crying out in exasperation, he threw his hands into the air and kept them there. At that exact moment, the overhead lights came on. A little squeak escaped my mouth as I got my first real glimpse of the guy I had assumed had been living with the relics. He was definitely not a transient. Who are you? I wondered as I studied the person who was not a man, and yet not a teen. He seemed timeless. Hooded hazel eyes, at that moment more green than brown, beneath a strong brow, pinned me with a gaze that was both intelligent and almost
Your
predatory.
explosions. Yeah, it was a creeper.
I felt like a mouse looking up at a swooping falcon, knowing death loomed, but utterly unable to look away from the beauty of it. His physical splendor was undeniable. Brooding eyes, miles of muscles beneath smooth golden skin, and full lips that would send any girl swooning. But there was something deeper behind the beauty, something very different about him that made my fingers itch for a pencil and paper. I wasn't sure I could even capture the indescribable thing I felt when I looked at him, but I really wanted to try. As easy as I found it to put
I
people
got
in
my
categories
computer
based
used. If I bought
on
it
the
new,
things
it
I
would have been
noticed
like
about them.
$1,000, and I ain't got that.
Their
Not
clothes,
that
the
I
way
don't
they
got that money
moved, the
either.
people they were with, or their patterns of communication. I thought that for him, I just might have to come up with a new
Fair
system.
enough. No, for real. Definitely fair enough.
He didn't belong in any particular group. He was unique. I blinked and realized he was smirking again. Even if the rest of him was a mystery, I could identify the expression. I'd met dozens of boys with expressions like that. International or not, they were all the same. They thought their wealth and good looks made them powerful. This guy was practically dripping with power. Definitely not my type. So, what are you supposed to be? I lashed out, heat stinging my cheeks in response to his arrogance. Are you some international model taking photos down here and now can't find your pants? I scoffed, indicating his clothes or lack thereof. Well, believe me, I said, using my best condescending voice and punctuating each word with a dramatic gesture for emphasis. Nobody would look twice at you, so just move along. Sighing, model boy mumbled a few words as he swirled his fingers into the air. Suddenly there was a funny taste in my mouth, a kind of fizzing, like an effervescent candy had just dissolved on my tongue. The sensation quickly disappeared, and I was trying to figure out what he was doing when he finally said a word I finally understood. Identify. Identify? I repeated dumbly. Are you asking my name? He nodded once. Shifting my weight, I answered tersely. Liliana Young. What's yours? Good. Come along. Young Lily, I have need of your assistance, he said, forming his lips around the world like they left a bad taste in his mouth, and effectively ignoring my question. Presuming I'd follow, he turned and plunged back through the plastic curtain. After a brief hesitation, my insatiable nosiness
Damn, terrific.
got the better of me,
Terrific.
and unable to come up with another good option, I threw aside the curtain and followed. Light filled every corner of the once dark room, and I found Model Boy sifting through items in a crate, tossing the discarded ones aside like rubbish. What exactly are you doing? Why are you dressed like that? And how can you suddenly speak English? Too many questions, young Lily. Please pick one. He lifted a heavy jar from the box. Closing his eyes, he spoke softly,
Some of these people probably see me
melodically,
acting normal
in
and
another
I'm
language.
confused.
After a moment, he shook his head, put the item back, and selected another. What are you doing? I asked as he repeated the chant. I am seeking my jars of death. Jars of death? I paused. Do you mean canopic jars? And what do you mean my? No more questions, young Lily. So, I mumbled, stalling as I tried to figure out what exactly was going on. You're looking for canopic jars, aka death jars. I read about those in National Geographic. They're the kind used for mummies, the ones they keep their organs in. Yes. Are you stealing them? He moved to another crate. I cannot steal that which belongs to me. I crouched and peered into the guy's face. I was pretty good at reading people, so I usually knew when someone was lying. This guy wasn't, which meant he either actually believed he had some claim on these Egyptian relics, or he was crazy. I was inclined to go with crazy.
I want pizza, honestly.
Look,
Yeah, no, me
I
too.
said quietly.
For real.
These items belong to the museum. You're not supposed to be touching them. You can't just come into a museum and take whatever you like. Museum? Yes.
I do know one
museum,
person that is way worse
as
than me as a
in
chatter. I'm mod in that
collection,
chat, and
house
I'll
of
have to talk to Shimmer
antiquities,
about that.
displayer of
'Cause,
old
damn,
documents,
this guy gets banned from chat,
and
from every
art
single
of
chat.
great
Damn.
value. Pulling the top off yet another crate, he squatted to examine the contents. Ah, he said.
Oh my god, not
A
him
house of
getting banned from every
muses.
single chat. Oh my god.
What? He ignored me, and after a brief perusal of the box contents, rose with a grunt of frustration. They are not here. The death jars? I asked. Yes, these are replicas. They do not hold my life force. Life force. Right. Definitely crazy. Mumbling a few excuses, I stood and began my retreat.
He's extremely bad. He makes me want to throw my
But he
computer and
followed
never
me.
touch the internet again. Wow.
Without my life force, I am merely a
God.
walking shadow on borrowed time, he
Oh,
stated
what's wrong with
gravely.
people sometimes like that?
His eyes locked with mine in a disturbingly determined way as I backed away nervously. I need sustenance, young Lily, he said while advancing. Sustenance? Okay. Please don't let hot foreign model guy turn into Hannibal Lecter. Well, there are a lot of places where you can get something to eat. May I recommend the Roof Garden Cafe on the 5th floor? I backed around a stack of crates as I gave him directions, but he pressed forward. Do not run away, young Lily. Run? I
Not the
tittered
little
anxiously.
pause
I'm not
sentence. Oh
running.
my god.
But speaking of running, if the roof garden is too far, there's always the American Wing Cafe. It's right next to this Egyptian exhibit. You can't miss it. Well, I've got a meeting to get to. I've really got to go. You do not understand. Without my jars, I must share your life force. Share my. Well, see, that's the thing. I'm I'm using mine just now. Thank you. Really wish I could help you. I do, I said, realizing he'd backed me up against a wall of crates. When my backside hit the barrier, he smiled. Without a second thought, I blasted him in the face with the pepper spray. Howling, he doubled over. I blasted him in the face with the. Oh. At the same time, a wind began to swirl around him, lifting little pieces of dust and construction material into the air. Panicked, I spun around and ran toward the curtain. But before I reached it, the lights went out, and I banged my knee against the golden sarcophagus. Stumbling to catch my breath, my balance. The word is balance, not breath. I heard him coming toward me. Come back, young Lily, he groaned. I need you.
Motherfucker, you are so.
Oh, I don't think so. There was no time for my eyes to adjust. Gripping my bag with one hand, I felt along the coffin till I skirted the massive object, and then hurried out as fast as I could. He followed me, emerging from the curtain just a few seconds after I did. My open bag was bouncing, and pens and pencils scattered all over the floor. When my notebook fell out, I had to stop for it, despite the danger. I chanced to look back. Crazy model boy was standing there, arms raised in the air, eyes closed. He was chanting, like before, but his voice echoing through the exhibit as I dashed toward the exit. A mysterious wind lifted my hair,
Not the why
blowing
you
it around
run. I
my face
can't.
and blinding me
I can't.
as I ran. His words pierced my consciousness, like hieroglyphs being chiseled into stone. He chanted, Protect me, God of the morning sun. Rebuff those who work evil. Turn
I'm
aside this
funny.
calamity
You're funny all
with
the
the
time.
power of my mouth, the power in my heart. I utter a spell. As our forms are bound this day, so are our lives. Tirelessly, she will serve me, whilst I serve Egypt. As I wander this land, make light my feathers,
Aw,
make
aw.
swift my wings, make steady my heart. I take her strength of body, and in doing so pledge to reward the gift given. Where I am unknown, she will attend. Where I am alone, she will be. Where I am weak, she will sustain, even on to death, that the darkness might be locked away, and all things remain in the light of the everlasting sun. My heart is firm, my soul is triumphant, my service is eternal. I'd reached the exhibit doors, but the moment he finished, I was blasted backward onto the tile floor. I had no idea what was happening. All I felt was pain. My heart beat erratically, and my stomach quivered with nausea when my lungs couldn't take in air. Did he shoot me? As I tried to fill my lungs, I felt around on my back. There was no blood,
Oh, I love that you
no
know.
bullet hole. Carefully, I stood up. I needed to get out.
That's such a cool emo right
Now.
there.
Reaching the side exit, I checked my watch. 11:35. Just a few minutes late from my date. If I missed out on the pretty much mandatory lunch, I'd never hear the end of it from my dad. He wanted me to make friends with the daughters of some very important people he wanted to quote unquote work with, meaning rub elbows with, in the future. Darting through the foot traffic, I entered one of my favorite restaurants and was ushered to a table next to the large bay windows that looked out over the street. Sinking into the chair, I blew out a breath as 3 pairs of critical eyes stared me down. My classmates. Their perfectly plumped, glossy lips made little O shapes as they set down their menus to study me. What happened to you? Redhead asked. You look like something the cat dragged in, said Blonde. Dragged in, scratched, coughed up in a hairball, and tinkled on, maybe, added Blonder. The girls laughed. No, even better, Blonde said. You look like a windblown tourist left too long on an open-top bus. Aw. Did you lose your map?
I
She
like your
asked in a
stream.
syrupy
Oh,
sweet voice.
thank you. I
I
appreciate that.
smiled at my
I'm still
best
trying to
nice
get
to see
better.
you, but I
Thank you.
really want
That
to
means a
kill you
lot.
smile at my three
I
quote-unquote
love these voices. I do
friends,
too. Please,
but
like I
they
said,
were
please a
nowhere
very,
near
very good
finished.
reader.
I
Can I
mean,
just like sitting here and
seriously,
listening?
who did your hair this morning? Albert Einstein? Yeah, and your clothes?
My
Blonder twitched her
not the
nose.
crying.
I've seen fewer wrinkles on a Shar-Pei. Redhead leaned over and picked
Not
at
the
my shirt.
wrinkles.
Is that sawdust? Grimacing, I replied, yes. I knew it, Blonde gasped facetiously. Liliana's having a secret affair with a rodeo clown.
Aw, I'm
All three
proud of
girls
you too.
burst out laughing. Well,
I mean,
that explains the hair, said Redhead. Okay, back off.
it's because of you I'm
had
getting
a rough
better.
morning, alright? Picking up the menu, I tried to covertly smooth my hair and brush some of the sawdust from my clothes. I was involved in a hit and run at the museum, I mumbled from behind the menu. You mean outside the museum? Redhead asked with a hint of actual concern. My lips twitched sheepishly. No, I mean inside the museum.
One streamer I used to watch used to
Blonder
do History
gasped
Mondays,
for
but then he
real this
stopped
time
anything.
and then lowered her voice.
Then he stopped anything that
Were
makes you stream unique. It
you
just makes it special, genuinely.
mugged?
Ooh, history
In an
sounds
instant,
nice.
all
History
three
Mondays are
girls became
cool.
very serious at the
We
mention of the
do miss
deep-seated fear
Mondays
they
here.
shared,
We just started
which
them
was to be the
yesterday.
victim of a purse snatching. The belief that everyone else in the world had designs on their money, and for most of them, their person, was almost a required understanding at my elite private school.
Myth Mondays, yeah, Myth
You poor
Mondays,
thing,
yeah.
Blonde clucked as Redhead rubbed my back for a minute
Do a
and
myth,
quickly
encrypted,
dusted off her
cross
fingers on her
everywhere, to be honest.
napkin.
We're not gonna stop at the US.
You just relax. We'll take care of you. While Blonde was going on
That sounds
about the
awesome. It is.
merits
We
of a
do
new
True Crime
designer she
Thursdays
loved, I
too.
stared
I'm so
absent-mindedly
proud
out
of
the
my brain
window.
cells. I'm so proud of myself for that brain
Immediately,
cell
I
sacrifice.
felt something. My gut twisted.
Yeah, no, John, it's really cool.
Muscles spasming as my
I'm
breath
very excited for
quickened
Thursday. Thursday's cases
no
can be
apparent
wild.
reason.
I can tell
Then,
you that
at the
right
edge of
now.
the window, a man came into view. A man who was stopping traffic. A man, a
True
bald
Crime,
man,
baby. Hell
wearing a white
yeah.
pleated skirt,
I'm. Yeah, it
and no
is TikTok.
shoes.
Okay. Just double checking with that.
Though New Yorkers are used to
Upload a video
just about
Friday.
anything, the man caused a stir. The crowd parted for him as he tilted his head skyward, spinning in a circle to look at the surrounding buildings as if he'd never seen one before. When he stepped into traffic, I stood up involuntarily. Then a cab hit him. Cassie, Chrissy, Courtney, I'm sorry, but I've got to go. Picking up my bag in a panic, I ran out of the restaurant and into the street. A strange compulsion drew me towards this person who both fascinated and terrified me. And I wasn't sure I wanted to find him still among the living.
Damn, forgot the name. Forgot the name of what? Exactly.
That's the end of chapter 2. I mean, I can keep going if y'all want.
Blue, all I gotta say is you're awesome at this.
I try.
I appreciate you
Like,
so much.
for real, like, this is awesome.
I try. In the book, the character she messed? Huh? Wait, is he what?
Yeah,
We
no,
don't know
I'm
his-
confused.
We don't know his name yet. We haven't been given his name. Are you talking about the man that just got hit by a cab?
I hate typing. Same.
Me too. I've been doing it since I was 6 because I couldn't write for fucking shit. No, okay, who are we talking about then? What character? I feel bad for Sunflower.
Sunflower.
Are you talking about the book that I'm reading, or are you talking about something else?
I'm so lost. Please hold. Okay, holding.
Please hold. Holding. In the ancient city of technical difficulty.
For a second, I thought this was an audiobook. My brain just broke for a second. Flu's a very good audiobook voice.
Yeah, I'm the free audiobook dealer.
You're such an icon for that. That's realness right there.
Please hold. Izzy is loading.
Not the loading. I can't.
I think she is loading, or they're loading.
In the book, you said Kirsty and like 2 other names, and I got dramatic.
Oh, those were the girls that she was sitting with. It was Cassie, Christy, Courtney. I think I said them a little quickly because I'm sure she said them quickly. And I got dramatic.
Not the ill.
Oh, because you're in.
I hate that for them.
For who? The girls or the narrator?
Wait, the narrator's name is Lily, right?
Yes, the narrator is Liliana Young.
Okay, just making sure.
Yep.
I hate that for them, the girls. Such good names wasted on them.
So true. So true. All right, let's see. Let's see how long is chapter 3. We will probably. Okay, chapter 3, 25. 25 to 38. 38 minus 25 is 13.
That's not bad.
Yeah, so that'll mean we've done technically 4 chapters, because that will include,
The prologue.
the prologue in the ancient city of technical difficulties. It's hold.
Not the please hold. I love that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. Take all the time you need.
No, Izzy said they missed being on
Oh,
call with us.
miss being on
I've
call
been
with you.
playing
Aw.
Minecraft. I'm sorry.
Minecraft.
Modded Minecraft. I've been doing the Minecraft. It's Cobblemon.
Love that for you.
Pokemon nonsense. I don't even do the Pokemon shit. I've just been cooking food.
That's what I would do, honestly.
Literally in the quest book, there's like a couple different cooking mods. I'll have to show you in a bit. I'll take a picture and DM it to you after we're done. Like you literally have to make like every food that's available in the game, basically. Like that's part of the quest line. I made cheese. Like I had to make the cheese wheel in like a fermenting thing, and then I had to leave it to ripe.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, I can make beer too. Anyways. All right.
I'm gonna end here. Just to give you guys a
Okay.
heads up, I'm really freaking tired, and I still gotta go take care of the puppy dog downstairs and give it another attempt.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, thank you, homies.
Love
Let me
you.
give a
Talk
shout
to
out
you
to V real
soon.
quick.
Go get
Shout out to
some
the
rest.
Guys who aren't following Versana, please do. Love them.
Yes, please, please,
Same with
please,
Plu.
please.
Same with Plu.
I don't do anything, but sure.
I'll be back for Crime Thursday.
Yes. Oh my god.
Woo.
Let's go. Crime Thursday.
All right.
All right. Very excited. It's gonna be a very, very crazy case.
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna do more research tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, I'll
Cool.
probably do the same.
Hell yeah.
All right. Good night.
Right. Good night, homie.
Good night.
Love you.
Night. Okay. Here we go.
Right.
Chapter 3.
Hell yeah.
Heart of a Sphinx. I pushed
I'm heavily
forward
considering deafening my call to watch. I'm so overstimulated. I get that. I
pushed
get that.
forward with alarming urgency, shoving people out of the way, even knocking a kid over to get to the man. What is wrong with me? It was like someone had taken over my body and I was just along for the ride. When I finally wrenched my way to the man's side, what I saw made me forget all about our first encounter. The impact from the taxi had sent him rolling into oncoming traffic, and he'd been struck at least twice. Blood dripped from his mouth and a large gash on his head. Road rash ran down his side, and his feet were covered with cuts. One of his hands was crushed, his very nice abdomen was already bruising, and his right shoulder was ripped up. Onlookers couldn't seem to figure out what to do except take photographs with their phones. "Back off!" I screamed uncharacteristically at the crowd. I started edging away a bit when some of them began turning their cameras on me. To be fair, they probably didn't know what to make of the man. Heck, I didn't know what to make of him myself. He was alert, which surprised me, considering the state of his body. From the moment he saw me, his eyes, more amber now than green, never left my face. He was afraid, confused, and in pain. I could feel the emotions coming off him in waves, and the empathy it stirred within me was tangible. It licked my skin with a panicked heat. I felt as if my own body had just gone through the same painful experience. I had to help him. Though severely injured, he tried to sit up as I approached. "I found you, young Lily," he said, the words
10
seeming
out
to
of 10
carry more weight,
audiobook.
more
Oh,
meaning than just
agreed
the obvious.
100%.
He looked like an ancient warrior,
Blue has a 10
dying on a
like
concrete
that's for
battlefield.
sure.
Kneeling beside him,
Very grateful to
I
know
touched
them.
the smooth skin of his arm lightly, and despite my uncertainty, said gently, "You sure did. And look what you've done to yourself." The fact that he was hurt, perhaps even dying, coupled with my strange new insight into his feelings, made whatever remaining fearful thoughts I had about him dissipate, like little bubbles popping into watery nothingness
I remember hearing audiobooks
in the bright
and all I
sunshine.
hear every time they start a sentence is a
He
lip
was still
smacking.
crazy, no
Yeah,
question about
that kind of
that.
turned me off of
But now I
audiobooks
believed he was
in a
more
sort of way.
pitiable, pitiable, pit, pitiable type of insane than an "I'm going to kill you slowly" type. The dark menace and exaggerated sinister qualities I branded him with earlier seemed silly to me now. He looked so harmless, lying in the street. Moaning, he shifted and then hissed in pain. I guessed that his leg, or maybe even his hip, might be fractured. Pulling out my phone, I had just begun dialing 911 when he lifted his non-crushed hand. "Help me," he pleaded. I pointed to the phone. That's what I'm doing." "No." He shook his head, closed his eyes, and he gritted his teeth. After panting for a few seconds, he focused on me again. I stared into his eyes and felt inexplicably mesmerized. The noise of New York City washed away. The world ceased to exist except for the two of us, me and him. And for a moment I imagined seeping into the dark pools of his eyes and being lost forever. Oh boy, what have I gotten myself into? "Help me," he repeated. His words snapped me out of the strange dreamlike trance, and the city's sounds assaulted my ears once again. Automatically, I dropped my phone on the pavement, barely noticing the cover popping off, and reached through his hand. A burning jolt seared through my fingers and into my veins, the pain bringing tears to my eyes, and I wondered if this was what electrocution felt like. I cried out between chattering teeth as a strange scent like scorched perfume or incense assaulted my nose. Just as quickly as it had come, the agony began to diminish, turning into a warm, tingling sensation that lifted my hair at its roots and caused wispy tendrils to float with a static charge. There seemed to be an invisible barrier between us and the crowd. Though they snapped pictures, no one approached. My muscles trembled from aftershock. I felt wrung out, like I'd been shoved into a dryer and tumbled around till I emerged in a fried, wrinkled heap. Someone squeezed my hand. My eyes flew open, and suddenly remembering where I was, I yanked my hand from the man's grip. "What was that?" I demanded. The euphoria of being a good Samaritan had abruptly faded, replaced by shock at what had just occurred between us. What what did you do? I half questioned, half accused. I felt as if I had been violated, but I couldn't really figure out why, and the uncertainty brought fresh tears to my eyes. He studied me for a moment, and I got the distinct impression that he regretted what he'd done. Not deigning to give me an answer, he sighed, wiping the blood off his lip, and carefully stood up, testing each leg as if unsure it would hold him. The people around us gasped in amazement, snapping dozens more pictures of this miracle man. That he was healed enough to walk was not nearly as surprising as how he handled the crowd. He was model tall, and since I was still nearing, I had to crane my neck to see him. The sun was right over his head, which, from my perspective, gave him a halo effect so bright I could barely look at him. Seeming to enjoy the attention he'd brought to himself, he nodded to the people, smiling as he turned in a slow circle to look at all of them. When he was satisfied, he stuck out his hand imperiously. "Come, young Lily," he said in a rich voice. There is much to do." I was about to tell him where he could go stick his arrogant attitude, along with his sexy accent, which he gave me when he gave me that piercing gaze again. My vision blurred as everything around me took on a dreamlike quality. The urge to fight leaving me just as quickly as it had come. Feeling very unlike myself, I gathered up my phone like I didn't have a care in the world, shoved it in my bag, and allowed him to help me up. Standing so abruptly made me woozy, and he put his hand on my back to steady me. I was uncomfortable with his forwardness and attempted to stagger away from him to wrestle my own way through the crowd, but he wouldn't have it. "You will stay by my side, young Lily." He took my hand and placed it on his arm, as if he were escorting me to a ball, before moving forward. The people parted like the Red Sea, and he strode through the crowd as boldly and regally as a prophet. In the now filthy and torn pleated kilt thing, he very much looked the part. As we walked, I tried to focus.
Oh, I love
I
that
knew there was
emote
something
so
very fishy
much.
going on and that my
That's
behavior was
so
out of
cool.
character. But I couldn't seem to break away from the guy or the haze that I was swimming in. Still, I vowed that, miraculous recovery or not, he would have to think twice if he presumed I was going to morph into a faithful follower, despite my actions to the contrary. When we reached the sidewalk, we passed my open-mouthed trio of classmates, their noses pressed up against the restaurant's glass wall. "I am sorry to involve you in this, young Lily, but it is necessary," he said after we were a few blocks from the incident. "What exactly am I involved in?" I hissed, still uncomfortable around him and itchy to escape, yet compelled to stay by his side. He covered my hand with his now healed one and sighed. "There is too much to explain, and this is not the right place." "What place would suit you in giving me an explanation?" He pursed his lips and scanned our surroundings, taking in the skyscrapers with an amazed expression. "I do not know," he said, shaking his head. "What kind of answer is that? And how did you heal? What did you do back there?" With a grunt of frustration, he pulled me into the shadow of a building with enough roughness that I fell against him. My heart beat in a prickly, half fearful, half excited way that was very unusual for me. My free hand was splayed over his chest, and my skin tingled where it touched his. My body seemed to leach warmth from him. This guy was hot. Literally. Perhaps he was feverish. The fact that I was now feeling feverish too irritated me. I didn't go for dangerous guys, especially bald guys wearing skirts who I couldn't figure out. He was different from any guy I had ever met. As he squeezed my shoulders to help me regain my footing, he murmured, You ask too many questions, young Lily. Your thoughts are too busy. It's an extra distraction for me in a world already full of chaos. He patted my shoulder gently. Try to put your mind at ease. I mean you no harm. That's probably what all alien abductors say, I muttered, wondering why my tightly controlled sarcastic thoughts were suddenly escaping my lips. I must rest for a few moments, he explained matter-of-factly, and then easily let me go when I squirmed in his grip. He slid away a few inches so his body was fully enveloped in the hot sunshine, and then leaned back and closed his eyes, trusting that I wouldn't leave. I smiled, tightening my grip on my bag and preparing to run, only to find that I couldn't lift my feet. What is going on? I thought. I needed to calm down. When I finally stopped thinking about leaving, I could take a step. For several minutes, I tested my ability to move. I could walk in circles, sit on a nearby bench, walk over to a garbage can, but if I took too many steps away from him, my body seized up. It was like there was an invisible chain keeping me tethered to him. Something is seriously wrong with me. I tried to flag down someone to explain that I was sort of a prisoner, but the words kept coming out wrong. Instead of pleasing for help, I'd asked to borrow a pen. When I tried to report the man to a passing cop, I said, "Nice day, isn't it, officer?" I needed
Not
to get
the
away from
ew.
him. No, that's wrong. Why would I want to leave him? My mind seemed to be playing tricks on me. Eventually, I accepted the fact that I had to stay with him for the time being. When I did, I felt like I could breathe more easily and my thoughts became more focused. Sitting
This
on the
man is
wooden
creepy
bench, I
for
studied
real.
him and waited, struggling to understand what kind of hold he had over me. If I were like the other girls in my school, I would have been in tears. But instead, my mind filled with questions. This is how I dealt with
Oh my
stressful
god.
situations. I calmly thought things through until I found a solution. How does a guy who has just been in a serious accident heal so quickly from his injuries?
Facts
Who is
for
he?
real.
What is this strange power he uses to manipulate me? What does he want from me? I rubbed my shoulder. I needed some pain reliever. The headache of all headaches was coming on. I could feel it, inching up the back of my neck. And why do I feel like I've been run over by a freight train? I don't even know this guy's name. After several minutes of watching him recline against the wall, I grew restless. Pulling out my notebook and pen, I turned to a fresh sheet of paper and then paused, not knowing where to start. He either didn't mind or didn't notice me studying him, so I took my time perusing his face. He was handsome, but his good looks seemed otherworldly. Even when a passing cloud shrouded him in shadow, his body appeared to glow. Not like a neon sign or anything like that. It wasn't noticeable unless you were really paying attention. There was a faint shimmer to him, as if he were in a constant spotlight. I lifted my head to start drawing his picture, only to find him watching me with cool, green eyes. "It is time to go, Lily," he announced. "Go where?" I asked. Squaring his impressive shoulders, he straightened to his full height and looked at the surrounding buildings. He studied both sides of the street, as if assessing our options. "I do not know. I have never seen monuments of this size before." Cocking his head, he queried, "What is the distance to Thebes?" "Thebes?" I snickered softly. Let's just say it's a little farther than I would want to walk in these shoes." I clapped both hands over my mouth, utterly shocked that I'd said exactly what I'd been thinking. Snarky, acerbic comments were definitely not mother approved, and I'd worked hard over the years to develop the habit of waiting an extra moment before responding. I long ago learned that my natural response to most situations was humor, in one form or another, and there was no place in my parents' circles for a quick-witted daughter. Oblivious to my thoughts, he glanced down at my shoes, frowning. "Very well. We shall find another means of transportation." Leaving the wall, he approached me with cat-like grace, hand stretched out. I jerked my head away, and he appeared hurt by my action. "Remain still," he said softly, stroking my cheek lightly. His fingertips felt like they were filled with liquid sunshine, and at his touch, heat seemed to seep into my cheekbones. I got the distinct impression he was assessing my body, and not in a boy checking out girl way. "You are weakened," he said finally. "The accident has diminished our strength. We both need sustenance." There's that word again. Cocking his head,
Your
he asked,
emotes are
"Is
so
there a different
cool.
word you would
That's really all I
prefer?"
gotta say, because I love those so
"No,
much.
it's fine as long as I'm not the one on your menu," I quipped uncertainly. "I do not consume human flesh. Is this practice common in your city?" Uh, no."
Thank you, of course.
He looked relieved. "That is good. I would rather starve on my sojourn." "Well, at least I can cross cannibal off the list. I was worried you were going to slice me up into little pieces and pull out your saute pan." His brows lowered in concentration and then lifted as his mouth curved up into a genuine smile. His expression was so bright and full
There
of
is an ad
delight
starting in about 10
that I found
seconds, just to let
myself
everyone
wanting to
know.
bask in the display. It was as if he'd been covered by storm clouds, but in that brief moment, the sun peeked through, warming me in a way that made me want to see him smile all over again. I'd been very wrong in my initial assessment of him. He wasn't a cover model, a lunatic, an axe murderer, or any of the other labels I'd tried to make a fit. The power that settled on his shoulders didn't come from money
Try
or
to
good
space as
looks,
out as best as I
though it
could,
was
but,
obvious he had at least one of
it's always one that
those.
comes up.
No, this guy's confidence wasn't based on a superiority complex. It wasn't superficial. "Perhaps later," he said with a twitch of his lips. "Tell me, what harvests are gathered in this iron city? I do not see farms, but I smell food everywhere." "Harvests?" Taking hold of my hands and pulling me up from the bench, he asked, "Will you help me find it, Lily?" I got the sense he was asking for much more than directions to the nearest fast food joint, and was suddenly sure of a few things. First, he was way out of his element, literally a stranger in a strange land. Second, although he was definitely comfortable in his own skin, he was experiencing moments of confusion and doubt, which made him unsure of himself and hesitant, and he laughed at those feelings. Third, he really seemed to need me. That, above all else, rang loud and clear. Maybe the solution was simple. Perhaps if I just bought him a burger and pointed him in whatever direction he needed to go,
Welcome
this
back from the ads.
pseudo hypnosis thing would end, and we could amicably part ways, and I could head home, try to make sense of all of this. I hypothesized that perhaps some unknown force had brought the two of us together, and my role as this guy's guardian angel would soon be over. If that wasn't the case, I had no idea what was going on. I often found the most obvious solution was the right one. He wanted to eat. So, I'd feed him, and then we'll take it from there. Well, I scanned the street for a place to eat. In New York City, they have a little bit of everything. This city is called New York?
John, thank you for the sub. I appreciate that.
Yes, I said slowly.
Enjoy your emotes and, ad-free viewing. Appreciate it. Thank you so much. Let me,
A sub. Yay. Okay.
there you go.
Yes, I said slowly, watching his expression. If he was playing at not knowing where he was An exemplary actor. Excellent, he said. Then take me, then, to a
Heresy
little
alert.
bit of everything. I gave his skirt a pointed look. Um, I think the only place you would fit the dress code for would be a hot dog stand. Wrinkling his nose, he exclaimed, "You eat dogs? That is almost as bad as people." "No," I snickered. "Boy, you are from out of town. Hot dogs are made from pork or beef." "Ah, I understand. Then I would like a hot dog." "You got it, Alibaba. Why do you call me this? I have to call you something. You still haven't told me your name." I spotted a food court across the street and indicated for him to follow me to the crosswalk. He tagged along placidly, and while we waited to cross, he said, "Amon. My name is Amon." "Right, Amon." He didn't pronounce it like Ammon. His version was a more swoon-inducing Amon, providing, of course, that one would swoon over a guy who was obviously not all there. "Well, it's nice
Sub
to
that
meet
Twitch
you,
gave me to ads. I still watch these two
Amon
ads
from
before you sub.
Thebes.
Yeah, sometimes the ads suck, but I really do
I am
appreciate the
not
sub.
from
Thank you so
Thebes."
much.
"No, I
I'm
was
back now
born
though.
in
Welcome back.
Iptajawe,
Welcome back.
in the time of the Dark One's
Yeah, I try to
reign."
separate the ads as much as I could,
"Right,
but you know,
and
it's always unfortunately gonna be an ad.
Iptajawe is in what country exactly?" "You would likely know my land as Egypt." "Really, why did the good-looking, interesting guys always have to end up being MIA upstairs?" His body had reached cruising altitude, but the pilot had obviously called in sick. "So, should I call you Pharaoh Amon or King Amon?" I teased, playing along. "I was to be a king, but the time of the pharaohs was after my own." Uh, hmm. This was getting easier. I finally felt like I was getting back in control. "That's okay. You shouldn't feel bad. Titles don't make the man, am I right?" Amon folded his arms across his chest and regarded me. "You are laughing at me." "Never. I would never mock an almost king/slashing on pharaoh." His expression was doubtful and a little more shrewd than I felt comfortable with, but he let it go, watching the action on the street instead. He seemed fascinated by the traffic, the honking, noisy, fist-waving, tire-screeching action. It was almost like he'd never seen a car before, which was impossible. There were, maybe, maybe, only a handful of people in the world who didn't know what a car was. When the light changed, Amon waited for the traffic to come to a stop. He didn't move until I took his hand. "Come on," I entreated. "The light will change soon, and the drivers don't really care if you're still in the way." After I mentioned the possibility of another accident, he rushed forward, gripping my hand and tugging me along, as he weaved quickly among the other pedestrians to get safely to the other side. "I do not trust those golden chariots," he declared while giving the taxis the evil eye. "Yeah, well, travel by golden chariot is pretty much essential in Manhattan." "I thought you said we were in the city of New York," he said as I guided him to the hot dog cart. "We are. Manhattan is the name of the island." "Island," he mumbled. "We are indeed far from Thebes." "Yes, we are," I said in an exaggerated voice as if I was talking to a child. Gently, I patted his arm as if he were an invalid. "So let's get you a hot dog, put my phone back together, and call social services to come pick you up." I hadn't decided on a course of action until that moment, but it felt like the right one. I was suddenly exhausted. This guy was in need of more help than I could give him, and I wanted to remedy the situation as soon as possible. "Why is there a service to lift people? I can walk." "Ah, you mean a litter? Yes, that is appropriate." Indeed it is. I smiled at him, utterly confused by our conversation. What do you want? The hot dog vendor barked at me, giving a moan the once over. 2 dogs with the works and a soda, I replied. A moan, if that was
You guys
his
can also
real
stream. I've
name,
seen many small streams, and yours is definitely the best. It's tip
stood
top
right
3.
behind me as if
Oh, thank you
guarding my
so
back
much.
from
That
people
really does
passing.
mean a lot. Thank you. I
He
really do
watched with
appreciate that.
curiosity as the vendor
Like I
got my
said earlier,
legs
I'm
together.
just trying to
When
get
the
better,
vendor
trying
was
to add
finished, I
more
handed
things.
Amon the
So
food before fishing out a $10 bill from my
thank you. That
wallet.
was very nice.
After stuffing the change into the guy's tip jar, I walked Amon to an empty bench and put my bag between us as he began fiddling with the hot dog wrapper. Amon took a bite and seemed to like what he tasted, but when I unscrewed the top of the soda bottle, things really got interesting. He chugged a mouthful of soda, and a second later was choking on CO2, soda spraying everywhere as his eyes watered. I grabbed some napkins from the vendor and began cleaning the soda from Amon's chest and arms. He was looking at me with a half frustrated, half amused expression. I can take care of that, young Lily. Cupping my hand, he wriggled the wadded napkins from between my fingers while I blushed violently and apologized. Sorry, I didn't mean to do that. He took both the sticky soda and my fumbling words in stride. Still, I forced myself to look away as he finished cleaning up, because I was enjoying the process a little too much. Being physically attracted to Mr. Almost King slash non-pharaoh just wasn't acceptable, and I refused to allow even a glimmer of interest to take root. When he was done cleaning his chest, Amon thrust the soda bottle into my hands. This drink is vile. Is there no juice of the grape, or perhaps water? Hold on. I left and returned a moment later with some bottled water. Here. Now why don't you tell me how you came to be in New York, and yet have never heard of the place? Instead of answering me, he drained his beverage. Raising the empty bottle, he explained, "This water is more delicious than the soft kisses from the daubed lips of a dozen nubile maidens." Suddenly, I couldn't remember what I just asked him. Seeing that my only response was to stare at him like I'd forgotten how to think, which incidentally wasn't too far from the truth, he waved a hand to get my attention. "May I have more, Lily? My throat is as dry as a sandstorm in the desert." What a coincidence. My throat had suddenly gone dry, too. Sure. Leaving my bag on the bench beside him, I pulled out some cash and headed to the vendor. When I turned around, my hands were full of bottles. I saw a man in a hoodie grab my backpack and began to run. Seriously? Is this the day that I'm having? Surely I'm being punked. He shouted and immediately dropped the bottles, 2 of which split, spraying their contents on my legs. Without a second thought, I ran after the thief. "Stop him!" I called out, and was pleased to see several pedestrians make an effort to slow the thief down. But before I could reach him, the man abruptly halted in his tracks, as if he had no control over his body. He turned around to face me as a voice behind me said, "You will return her belongings." I grunted. "Not now, Amon. I can handle this." To the thief, I proclaimed, "Give it back, and I won't call the cops." The thief nodded, his eyes glazed over, and passed me the bag. Afterward, he started jerking awake, as he started as if jerking awake, and lunged through the crowd, desperate to get away. Glancing briefly at Amon, I shook my head in disbelief and unzipped my bag to check its contents. Once again, a crowd had gathered around us, and Amon played to the masses. Some people even cheered, and Amon raised his hands, seeming to enjoy the praise. Everything accounted for, I angrily zipped my bag closed, and swung it over my shoulder. Unbelievable, I muttered to myself. I mean, really unfreaking believable. Craziest day ever. I spun around, very much needing to get away from everyone. Amon quickly caught up. "Where are we going, young Lily?" "I don't know where you're going, but I'm going home." "To your home?" "Yes." He matched my stride even though I was practically running by now. I raised my hand to hail a cab, and one immediately pulled over. As I yanked open the door, Amon said warily, "I do not trust the golden chariots." I sighed and turned back around. "Look, the best thing for you to do is to head back to the museum. It's a straight shot down 6 blocks or so. Ask for Tony. He's a friend of mine. Tell him you're going to get into thieves, and they'll help you out. He can get you another hot dog and put it on my tab. I do not understand, young Lily. You wish for me to leave you? Yes, I need to go home, take a bath, and sleep for a long time. Then I will go with you. No, you... Hey, you coming or not? The impatient driver asked. Hold your chariot, I shouted back, adding bellowing at cabbies to my new repertoire.
I was
The
thinking today,
driver
a lot of
shut
people
up.
make
He
good
satisfied
content too,
himself
but they
after
never
that
get
with giving me
confirmation
annoyed
that, so just
looks.
stop. I hope you
At a
guys do
moment's
well and your
expectant
streams keep going.
expression, I lost
Oh,
it.
again, thank you
There
so
was
much. Yeah,
hardly
these
enough
streams are gonna keep
pressure on me
going.
without getting this guy to the max.
Every Tuesday we're
It
gonna
was
do a
time
reading
to get
stream. We
off
got
the
True Crime
insane train.
Thursdays, Myth Mondays, and we're
Blast
gonna
off.
continue bringing more things into this
Everybody
stream.
off.
So I'm very excited for.
Rubbing my temples, I explained. I'm really sorry, but you just can't do this.
Yeah,
Whatever
thank you for your
this
kind words. I
is
really
anymore.
appreciate that. Like,
My head
truly.
hurts. I was almost robbed. I had to eat lunch with the 3 weird sisters. I channeled so much static electricity that my mouth tastes like
I would
the
die if you
outside of
ever
a
stopped.
burned
Don't worry, I'm
marshmallow.
not stopping.
And to
I
top it
got you.
all off, I've been
Just like I
extorting
told
the
you, I
captain
think it
of
was like a
Crazy
week ago,
Town around
Izzy.
New York.
This is
You
literally
see, Lily,
like
I need to
a
go
passion of
home.
mine besides music. Y'all are so good. Oh, thank you. I really
The
appreciate
moan
that.
pressed
I'm
his
trying. I'm
fingertips against my
doing
cheek,
what I can.
like he had
Gonna
earlier,
just keep
and with a
going.
very subdued demeanor, he nodded. Yes, I
I know and I
understand.
love it. I
You
know
must
you love
rest
it.
tonight. Will you be okay? I will not come to any harm, Lily. Good.
He seems gonna keep getting better and better. I can promise you that.
The weight of responsibility for him was like a heavy
One of your
blanket that
biggest
suddenly slipped
cheerleaders.
from my shoulders.
Aw, thank you. And
Still,
you know
I
I'm
bit
one of
my
your
lip
biggest
and
cheerleaders too.
called
I
out
got
as he
you.
turned away. Wait! Rifling through my wallet, I pulled out several 20s and pressed them into his hand. If you get hungry or thirsty, give the hot
Honestly, I
dog
just had
man
fun
one,
streaming.
please.
Like, streaming
Fucking
with
move,
people like
he
my
said
friends,
as he
it's
tightened his
amazing.
fish, crushing all the bills in the middle. At my look and confusion, he clarified, my thanks. Ah, well, goodbye, and good luck. May luck be with you as well, he replied. Climbing into the cab, I shut the door, telling the driver to
I will cry.
head to
Stop
Central
turning the
Park.
support back around
As
on
he
me.
waited for
No,
the
I mean,
traffic to fade so he could pull
you know
out,
I'm
my
right though,
mom
because
gripped the
like
frame, where
you
the
literally
window was
got me
rolled
like
down and leaned
really
close to talk
grinding
to
on
me.
this content creation
Young
thing,
Lily?
like this whole
Yes?
journey. Like yeah, like I
Yes?
was passionate about it
He
before,
gave me
but
one
the
of his
the talk we
special
had
sunlit
like a
smiles.
week or two ago.
You have the heart of a
Just
sphinx.
got here already subbing. I'm not quitting sub. That means a lot. I
I was
appreciate
about to
that.
ask him what he meant, when the driver
That
pulled
really means a
away.
lot. Like I said,
A
it
moment
does.
stared at me as the distance between us increased,
Yeah,
and
but Izzy, you
despite the
got me like
certainty of my
you like
decision to
lit
leave
that
him
spark
there,
again
I
that I
remained uncomfortably
desperately
twisted
needed.
in my seat, watching until he was swallowed up in the jumble of people moving like ants through the dark jungle of
I don't
Manhattan.
do shit but support you in it, and I appreciate everything you do. I mean,
And that
you
is
will
where we are
always
going
get
to
credit
call
for
it a
me.
night, because my throat is starting to feel a little dry.
That was incredible, Blue. Round of applause for Blue. Oh my god. Alright, I am gonna end stream here though. Just because I'm a little tired. But I'm gonna be back tomorrow. So
Yay!
I'll be back. I'm gonna play Emily's Away and then I guess Lethal Company, honestly. I don't really know as of right now.
Okay.
Alright, but that was
Ooh.
amazing. Let's go Flo. Yeah, let's go Flo. I just got hyper
Thank
fixated when
you.
you mentioned analytics. You really did. Alright. Let me give you a shout out real quick, Flo. That was amazing.
Oh,
Best Pookie of all
well,
Pookies for
thank
real. Best homie ever, best friend ever. Okay. Alright, I'm gonna end this
no,
here.
thank you.
But I'm going to write out know exactly who we're gonna write to because I've had them tapped up for I think like half of this stream. I'm gonna raid into Rissa. If you are subbed, you can use this one. If you're not, it's fine because you can use this one.
Okie doke.
I'm just gonna copy the first one again because I just need to copy and paste it. Alright.
Okie doke.
Right. I hope you guys have a great night. Thank you again, Flu, for the rating. Thank you for the subs and the raids. I appreciate that. Love you guys. And have a good night.